Nigeria
now. Warren Buffett, an American business magnate, investor, and philanthropist, once said that we don't have to be smarter than the rest. We have to be more disciplined than the rest. All right, so let's take our second creator, and this one is from Mark Twain, American writer, humorist, entrepreneur, publisher, and lecturer, as well as vice president of the American Anti-Imperialist League from 1901 until his death in 1910. He once said, "Buy land, they are not making it anymore." Okay, so land, they're not things that they produce. That I'm sure that's what he meant. So let's take our next quote, and this one is from William Penn, English writer and religious thinker. Once said, "Find out where the people are going and buy the land before they get there." Absolutely spot on. Let's take our next quote, and this one is from Jack Bogle, an American investor, business magnate, and a philanthropist. He once said, "Don't look for the needle in the haystack. Just buy the haystack." I love this one. So we'll take our last quote from John Stuart Mill, English philosopher, political economist, member of parliament, and civil servant. He once said, "Landlords grow rich in their sleep without working." How so? Now let's see how all of this could relate to what we'll be discussing today. Very warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We're reaching you from Captain's Television Studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabelle Oji. Now with that last quote, they say that landlords actually make their money through their sleep. Well, the last quote that stated that landlords grow rich in their sleep without working. I'm sure you're wondering how. So our guest on the show today is Dr. Peter Adejoh, serial entrepreneur and executive chairman, CEO of Camey and Rock Holdings. Dr. Peter Adejoh will be talking to us on real estate in business in Nigeria, how it is growing since COVID-19 till date. And we'll also talk about hospitality business, because we actually found out that he was able to diversify his investment portfolio from real estate to hospitality. How easy was that? We will find out. So we're going straight to Dr. Peter Adejoh's office after this timeout. Join us again. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We're reaching you from Captain's Television here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Nice, we're right on time for the interview. Our guest on the show today is Dr. Peter Adejoh. He is the CEO of Camey and Rock Holdings. It's great to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
And then congratulations to your recent award and then doctorate degree.
Thank you very much.
All right, now let's talk about real estate and COVID-19. Since with all of the disruption caused by COVID-19, how's it been so far in that sector?
Well, COVID-19 came at a time the world least expected. A lot of businesses were not anticipating that kind of huge disruption to their businesses. And when that happened, it affected not just the real estate sector, but all sectors of the economy. There was virtually a shutdown of the world economy. The world was in turmoil, and a lot of businesses had to start thinking of how to, first of all, survive that era. And you agree with me that that period witnessed a deluge of economic downturn across the globe. Several countries were struggling. A lot of businesses were affected. Businesses plummeted by over 50% during that period. So for the real estate sector, yes, COVID-19 had a lot of impact, negative impact on the market. And for us, it was a time that we had to, think of strategies that will help us to stay afloat so that we don't end up having no business at the end of the pandemic, which is exactly what we did at that time.
Okay, now, so for a prospective investor who wants to go into real estate as a business, now what are the things that he or she needs to look forward to, or what are the things that they need to put into perspective before going into that business?
Okay, well, for real estate business, first of all, is capital intensive. It's not a business that you venture into with little money. If you understand what I mean? Because land acquisition is expensive at the moment. Then cost of construction, of course, cost of setting up infrastructure, and what have you. It's a capital intensive project. So for those that want to go into the business, I would say that be ready to find ways of funding your business in terms of by way of equity or by way of debt, because most real estate companies deploy huge financial assets to build what you see today and to be able to provide mass housing for the Nigerian people.
I hear you say that real estate is capital intensive. I will recall that in 2017 and 2018, there was Nigeria went into recession, and then afterwards, I think in 2020, the fourth quarter of 2020. So now, how's it been for the business? Is it still thriving? Is it something that anyone can actually go into?
Okay, if you look at the National Bureau of Statistics figure for GDP Q1 of 2021, you will see that real estate contributed about 5.28% to the GDP of Nigeria, which amounted to about $5.3 billion. That's to tell you that the sector is still viable and is viable. I can say categorically that the real estate market is a viable business to invest in. In terms of growth, real estate growth in ratio to our GDP was about 1.77% in Q1 last year, based on the statistics I just quoted. So if you look at that's a huge movement in terms of yes, of course, when recession came, like you mentioned in 2017, purchasing power reduced, which is, of course, it's the norm. When there's a recession, of course, people have to adjust their economic priorities and see what they need to invest in and what they need to withhold back to prepare for recovery. So during that period, of course, it affected real estate because a lot of people were not able to meet up with their contracts of purchase, and a lot of people couldn't venture into purchase of, new real estate assets. But Nigeria came out of the recession, and the market, of course, has seen some level of recovery within that period and now.
So you're saying that there are still investment opportunities for those who want to come into the business?
Absolutely. The best investment on earth is earth. So if you want to make money, if you want patient assets that appreciate, that you are guaranteed of capital appreciation, it's real estate.
I recall seeing that quote that you just mentioned now. All right, so how far with the forex rate, Nigeria's, with this precipitous decline of our national currency with regard compared with other global currencies, and now you have this huge, it's no longer what you see then and now. So how much has the exchange rate affected the business?
Well, I can tell you for free, almost 70% of what we use for construction are dollar denominated, because what that means is that they are imported materials. What constitutes local component of a building is not more than or up to 30%. So that tells you that for every fluctuation we have in the currency market, for every instability that is fueled by currency fluctuation, it affects the bottom line not just for developers but for off-takers. Reason being that when you import a lot of the components into the country, I'm referring to the vendors now, when they import, as dollar is going up, they keep adjusting their prices. And when that happens, construction becomes expensive for you. And you as the developer, so that you don't lose money, you end up increasing the price tag on your buildings for the eventual off-takers and those that we dwell in the houses. So for me, I would say the fluctuation in the currency market in Nigeria is really affecting the business. It is. And it's a major concern to us because when you have your bill of quantities for a project and you venture into that project and you start construction work, because of the fluctuation, you are not sure if, for instance, the project is going to cost you, for purpose of this discussion, 100 million, and you do your calculation, you do your permutation, you have built in your profit margin and all that, and maybe you're going to bid for 100 million and sell for maybe a 120 or a 150 million. By the time if construction takes you like 2 years, it's very possible that when you came into that project, between that inception and when you are completing the project, you will see that Forex has moved significantly. That begins to affect your projection. All right. So for me, I would advise, because I think we have come to a point in our nationhood that we need to take a decisive decision on two things. One, Forex fluctuation. Number two, subsidy. Because by the time you have these two major components in our economy and we're not taking decisive decision on it, then it's going to keep affecting the bottom line. It's only in Nigeria that you see a situation where you have, that I know, that you see a situation where you have official rate and black market rate. And the truth of the matter is, how many of us who are businessmen have access to official rate FX? No, we still have to source for excess FX from the black market. But a situation where you have an official rate and a black market rate, definitely there will be room for manipulation. It's a natural, it means there will be rent seeking. What that means is that some people get this money, get FX at the official rate, and still it will end up in the black market at the black market rate. So it becomes like a business. But if you remove that, dual of exchange rate and let the market decide, let market forces decide the kind of exchange rate we'll have, and you see that things will begin to stabilize. Then, of course, there's the issue of fuel subsidy. If you look at the budget of Nigeria, what we spend on fuel subsidy daily and annually is humongous. We don't need that kind of. We can channel those resources to grow other sectors of the economy that will have direct impact on our GDP, that will have direct impact on the citizens of our country.
So with all of this, that means it is the end user that actually suffers the ripple effect.
Not just the end users. Have you forgotten that we're also grappling with running costs? We have staff to pay. We have construction workers on site. We have service providers that we need to pay. So it affects both the developer and off-takers and the end users. So for me, I would say that I'm urging government to find a way, to resolve this forest crisis, because I don't see it abating soon.
Do you see devaluation of Naira as a quick fix to all of this?
Like I said, devaluation, it depends on how you view it. You view devaluation. For me, I would say that what we need is simple. Remove official rate. Let's have one rate. We don't need official rate and parallel market rate. No. As long as you keep fixing the price at the official level, we'll keep having this problem, because, like I said, some privileged people will have access to the forex at official rate, and they will sell it in the black market. And we that are businessmen, we don't have access to it at the official rate. We do a couple of importation of materials, and we have some service providers that will pay in foreign currency. I know what we go through to source for dollars to pay them. It's not even easy transferring dollar out of Nigeria to pay for services offshore, because of the various restrictions we have on that process. So I would say that what we need actually in Nigeria is remove, the official rate. Let the market decide. Deregulate the market. Let the market decide what our exchange rate will be. And you'll be surprised that we'll achieve some level of stability. Look at the trajectory of Nigeria. Forex has never come down. It keeps, we knew when, in 1980, if you look at the exchange rate in 1980, I think, if I could recall, $1, it was $1 1 naira to the dollar.
To a dollar.
Look at 1980, look at now. That's 42 years. See where we are now. So there has been no reduction in exchange rate. Reason being that it's like doing the same thing and expecting a different result until we take away that dual forex pricing from our economy. We will not achieve stability. For how long are we going to be depleting our foreign reserve to augment forex shortfall, to keep defending the naira. For how long? We can channel those resources to building more infrastructure and growing other sectors of the economy. Let the market decide exchange rate. Let the market decide fuel prices. Remove subsidy. So for me, that's my suggestion.
Okay, so because you talked about 1 naira to a dollar, we're going to talk about that later on the show. But then now let's talk about affordable housing and or low-cost housing. Most private developers have already, I've heard them saying that they prefer to invest in high-end properties because the affordable housing don't make any financial or commercial sense. Is that a myth or truth?
Well, let me put it this way. For us, because we understand how the market dynamics are, and we're always, carrying out research, cost of land, especially in the FCT, is expensive. So when you go and buy an expensive land, if you put an affordable housing on that expensive land, you're not going to make any margin. Reason being that your cost of production will far outweigh your cost of sale. So what happens is, you see that most of the affordable houses you see are within the outskirts of the city, not in the city center.
Okay.
So I'm not saying we cannot do affordable. In fact, we have created an affordable housing brand within our company because we focus more on luxury, but we have set up an affordable housing brand within our company, and we're about to do a 1,000 mass housing scheme.
Is it in Abuja or the outskirts?
No, it will be in Benue. We're starting from Makurdi. So that 1,000 houses is low income. You have, it's a mix of low income, middle income, and high income earners. But in Abuja, of course, because of cost of land, we're still thinking when we're able to secure maybe a suitable land that the numbers make sense in terms of putting affordable houses on them, we'll definitely venture into it.
Okay,
but
so
like I said, there is a lot of, the housing deficit in Nigeria is very high. So we don't have enough houses. That's the truth. Now, flood is ravaging the land. A lot of people who are living along the coastal shorelines, they now have to, relocate them. Because where are you going to move them to? They have to move into houses because it's very clear that because of climate change and the fluctuation and rising sea level, people can no longer live in certain areas, especially those that are below the sea level, almost at par with the sea level. They have to move upland, and if they are moving upland, you need to provide alternative houses for them. So demand is far more than supply in terms of mass housing.
Okay, since you bring in this investment to Abuja, for the benefit of our viewers who don't understand what affordable housing is, give us an inkling. How affordable is affordable?
Honestly, if you ask me, like I said, it's a convergence of all these factors I mentioned: inflation, exchange rates, of course, and infrastructure. By the time you factor all this and cost of production, you have to know what is affordable housing. Some people will tell you, okay, a house that you sell for 3 million is affordable housing. You and I know which house can you build with 3 million. By the time you factor in the cost of the land and cost of production, and government is not subsidizing your cost of production, how do you sell at 3 million? So it depends on what you see as affordable. For me, affordable housing can be a 30 million naira house. Or a 25 million naira house. It depends. Or you can say, if I get a land that, if I factor in the cost of land per unit, maybe around 400,000, and I put another, let's say 1.5 to build a house, that's 1.9. Or I put another 2 million to build the house, and it comes to cost of production comes to about 2.4. By the time you have add taxes and overhead, you say, okay, I'm going to sell at 3.5. Then where can we get that kind of land?
But some people will actually tell you that instead of getting a land at some places like Maitama, Wuse, or Asokoro, just go to Gwagwalada. Is that still affordable?
Of course. Of course. Like I said, people have different business models. For us, we don't do mass housing. We're just about venturing into it. Like I said, we just created a brand for it because of, we looked at it and we're like, okay, let's also contribute to our quota. Remember, we're not just in business to make money. We're also in business to have an impact on society. And how do you have an impact on society if you are not providing alternatives? You are not augmenting the deficit we have in terms of housing, as a country. So that spurred us to go into building a brand that can resonate with the low income earners of the society.
All right, now let's talk about how the government can actually come in and provide some kind of succor. We've seen how much past and present administration have been able to bring forth policies with regards to housing. Now, you talked about housing deficit; it's still on the rise. So I'm wondering, what exactly is the reason for this surge in housing deficit? Why do we still have this housing deficit despite all of the policies that have been brought forth by various administrations?
Okay, if you ask me, I would say the reason why we have a lot of the rising housing deficit is simple. Population surge. Is our population decreasing? The answer is no. Our population is rising on daily basis, right? And you also have rural urban migration is on the increase. A lot of people want to leave the rural areas for the cities. Okay, they want to have access to better means of livelihood. They want to have access to better income. So that makes them to move from the rural areas into the city. And when they move into the city, definitely they need to get a house. They need shelter, isn't it? So this fuels demand for more houses. In terms of what can government do, if I could recall, in 2010 I visited South Africa, and I was taken on a tour of some estates. And what happens in South Africa is, when you purchase a land to build an estate, government provides all the infrastructure before they give the land to you. As at 2010, I don't know about now, but I'm telling you what I saw in 2010. And that really, really, was surprising to me. And I felt this is the way to go. They get the land, government will provide roads, provide electricity, provide access points for water, and the basics. Then in some instances they even it's a gated, they provide fence on the land and now hand it over to the developer for it to just build the houses.
Oh, really?
So I'm sure maybe they factor in the cost of those infrastructure in terms of pricing the land. But if government can do that, the problem with developers are facing is that we spend so much to build the houses, and yet there is no supporting infrastructure. So you end up building both infrastructure and houses for the masses. If government can come in and create a program where, if you see willing developers, you can say, okay, you build it, source for your money, build the houses. We as government will provide infrastructure. I think that's going to increase participation.
Awesome. All right, then. Let's go on a quick break, and when we return, the conversation continues. I will see you shortly. Let's Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is the conversation. We're reaching you from Captain's Television here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you've missed out on a whole lot, but then you can still join in the conversation. Our guest on the show today is Dr. Peter Adejoh. He is the MD CEO of Camey and Rock Limited. All right, before we went on that break, you actually stated quite a lot of things. But now let's talk about this burgeoning state of collapse building that we keep seeing. What exactly is the reason for this surge in collapse building, especially in swampy areas, especially in places like Lagos? Who are we supposed to, or who are they supposed to hold responsible, and at what point are they supposed to hold who responsible for this?
I think it was unfortunate that a lot of lives were lost in Lagos with that incident. But if you could recall, we heard that the approval that was gotten, even though I don't have the details, was for a certain number of floors, but the developer added more floors without, the way buildings are built, the kind of foundation you have determines the weight the building can carry. So if your foundation is not meant to carry 10 floors, and you do a foundation that will carry 5 floors, and eventually it's okay, when you get to the 5th floor, you start manipulating to add 5 more floors, it becomes a problem. But I think after that incident, there has been a lot of tightening of regulation. And in fairness, in Abuja, where we operate from, Department of Development Control, they're on top of their game. And they if you notice in Abuja, you don't see collapsed building much.
Well, some people say because it's not as swampy as you have in Lagos.
Yeah, Lagos is swampy, so the kind of foundation you do is important. You know, you could
Okay.
do raft foundation, you could do piling, depending on the topography, the soil test that you carry out on the land to ascertain the type of soil you are building on. All that needs to be looked into before you venture into, building a house. So, and I would say for Lagos State, of course, we know that it's a coastal state. So the kind of land you have there may not be as rock solid as the type we have in Abuja here. So definitely, I think tightening of regulation will ensure that, such things don't happen again.
All right, let's come back to Abuja. What is the reason for this surge in abandoned houses or abandoned buildings? You have them so many
Okay.
in Lugbe, Kubwa. Like, what exactly is the reason for this?
It's simple. Overpriced houses. When you go and approach the owners of those houses and you say you want to rent it, when they tell you the amount they are going to rent it to you, you end up walking away because most of those houses are overpriced. Why would I go and pay 5, 6, 7 million for a 12-month rent when I can just struggle, try, thrive, and put in maybe more effort to increase the money to 10 million and purchase a land somewhere and build my own house? So that is the problem. The houses are overpriced. And rent in Abuja is not sustainable. It's outrageous. That's the truth. So that's why I have so many abandoned houses. Because, of course, inflation is there. When you look at opportunity cost of what your basics are in terms of your cost of living, you won't, if your income, for instance, is 2 million or 3 million for purpose of this discussion, you cannot spend, if you spend 2.7 to pay rent, can you use 300,000 to survive from January to December and taking care of your other needs? The answer is no. So it's overpriced houses that is the problem.
Okay, now so let's talk about for someone who wants to get a prospective investor or someone who wants to buy a land or a house. Now, the first thing that you see is all of the glitz and the glamour, the razzmatazz, the paparazzis, the lightnings and all. But then when you get into the house, you might take like 5 to 6 years before you start finding out some cracks in the wall. So for like you, a prospective investor, you want to buy a property, what are the first 5 things that you should look out for before you purchase that property?
First of all, look at the antecedent of the developer. Okay. Then look at, when you go to site, look at the kind of materials they've used to build the house. Because the type of building material you use will determine the outcome of that building. How solid is your concrete work? For us, we don't even mix concrete on our site. We use pre-mixed concrete for all our projects. So we buy from Lafarge, we buy from a couple of companies out there. You have Zebaset, you have Wet and Dry. We buy ready mixed concrete. And for us, that way we're able to ascertain the quality of the concrete we are using. And of course, we provide evidence to our off-takers to see how this house was built. You see it is evidential. It's not as if we are trying to speculate. So I would say that before people venture into buying houses, they should look at the quality of materials that were used to build a house. Very important.
All right, so now let's come back to you. Now we noticed that you recently diversified your investment portfolio from real estate to hospitality. Has it been for you? Because one would have actually thought, why hospitality? Why not P2P, like the peer-to-peer investment? Why not go into commodity, gold, something close to real estate? Why hospitality?
Well, for us, we're a lasting wealth platform. We create wealth. And for us, we felt that, look, we cannot just focus our attention on residential houses because our area of business focus is commercial, residential, real estate. So hospitality is another arm of commercial, real estate. We don't want to just build houses that we have to look for tenants to pay January to December kind of rent. We want something that gives us, and this idea came during COVID. We felt that, look, let's have assets that generate cash flow. Okay. If you build a house for tenants, if tenants moves in January and pays you the rent, you cannot go back to that tenant and collect money again. You have to wait. Even if you finish spending the money, you have to wait till December or January the following year when the rent will have expired. But for a hotel, the cash flow is every day. Okay, so
Okay.
it helps you to, yeah. So that's our understanding of the market, and so far the journey has been splendid.
So it has been all good because I have a lot of people,
Absolutely.
a lot of investors that they are always very reluctant to path with $1. And then for you, you felt like, well, it's for I feel like it was just swift. You moved into hospitality swiftly without any hassles. So it's been all good for you.
Yeah, we thank God. We thank God for God's help. Without God, we are nothing. So, and he's the one that has provided for us to be able to do this. And of course, this is just the beginning because we'll keep expanding into other sectors of the real estate market. Eventually, we're going to launch our first business hotel project in Abuja. That will be unveiling that next year. It's a multi-level hotel that has residencies, hotel, and offices in one building,
Oh,
where
okay.
you can live, you can work, you can play. So we're going to be unveiling that very, very shortly. So these are areas we have tried to, expand, to ensure that we're able to have multiple streams of income.
So how have you been able to manage your hospitality business and ensure that it does not, it's still what it's sold? Because I remember a friend of mine told me that when you go to a particular hotel and then you first check the convenience, the bathroom, if you find bucket under a shower, run for your life. The next thing you should check for is the restaurant. If the food is not good, run for your life. I just begin to wonder, where exactly are the owners of this business? Because you cannot love or maintain or cater to a business more than the owners. So how have you been able to cater to your business?
Anyway, for us, when you come to Plush Hotel, it's the experience is amazing. Incidentally, most of the guests we have are repeat customers. They keep coming back, right? And we've had good reviews for our food, good review for our bathroom, and good review for services. I have a robust team in our hospitality department who are managing the day-to-day activities at the hotel. For us, we want to create a brand that can compete internationally, and that's exactly what we're doing. We could have as well brought in any of the international brand to brand the building. We had, some of them approached us when we were doing this hotel, but for us, we said let's create our own brand and grow it. Let it become like the international brand that is out there, and that's exactly what we're doing in terms of service rendering, service delivery, in terms of what we offer, and in terms of the content of our hotel, and that is exactly what we're doing.
Awesome.
General election happens to be one of the most important for our generation. Reason being that the decision we take through that election is going to shape the next 8 years of our lives. 8 years that we'll never see again after 8 years. Which means if we don't choose wisely, if we don't take the right decision, we're going to waste the next 8 years complaining, murmuring, criticizing. We have the opportunity to change the narrative and change the trajectory of our country. Now, for security agencies, I would say what is most important is neutrality. They should not show bias to a particular candidate. All the candidates on the various political platforms are important. Let the electorate decide. And I must commend that the electoral process over the years, we've seen so many levels of improvement in terms of organization, logistics. We know if you look at the trajectory of our elections from 1999 to date, when we returned to democracy after so many years of military rule, you agree with me that we had eras where election we hold, and what you hear is that at the polling unit, for purpose of this discussion, there were 2,000 votes for a particular candidate. But between the polling unit and what you call the Almighty Coalition Center, you discover that from 2,000, they declare another figure.
at the coalition center. And of course, coalition centers usually, we have local government coalition center and we have state coalition center before it gets to national. Through those processes, we keep having conflicting figures. Reason being that there are active collaborators who try to trample on our mandates.
Now let's talk about politics. Do you have any interest in venturing into politics, mainstream politics, anytime soon?
Yeah, eventually in the future, we'll consider it because, like I said, politics has different layers, okay? If you have to participate at different levels to ensure that. For me, I believe the easiest way to make a change or to influence policies is when you're in government. There's a little you can do as a private sector practitioner, because when you give advice to government, sometimes they don't follow it. But when you have some level of influence, be it at the National Assembly, at the State House of Assembly, or at the local government level, or as a governor, or as a president, or even as a minister, you begin to use that as an opportunity for you to add value to development. So for me, in the future, definitely, I will consider it. But for now, I'm minding my business.
Really? Yes. All right. Now, since we're talking about politics, come 2023, what should the electorate be looking out for? Because there are some, now you have presidential candidates. They are now reeling out their campaign promises. So at what point do you begin to decipher between the campaign promises and the actual blueprints? Like, that this is actually not possible. You talked about $1 to a naira 42 years ago. Things like that, and then expecting someone to come with a magic wand to turn things around 360. That's like almost impossible. So for those electorate going into the polls in 2023, what are those things that they should look out for when they are putting their thumb where their mouth is?
Okay, I would say that it's very simple. Look at the manifesto of the candidates. Look at it critically and see if what they are promising is realistic. One thing is to promise, another thing is to implement. And I'll tell you for free, there is no human being on earth that can turn Nigeria around within 8 years. It's not possible. It took us 62 years to get here. How do you undo 62 years of inconsistency in terms of policy, in terms of development? Yes, several administrations have tried their best to see how they can add value to the country. But the truth of the matter is we have a lot of work to do to be able to compete globally. And that cannot happen overnight. But is it possible? The answer is yes. If we are determined as a people, both as the followers and as leaders, we can make this country great again. It is very possible. So as we go into 2023, I want to implore the electorate, look at the manifestos being presented by each of the candidates, dissect them, query them, and at the end of the day, if you are convinced that okay, it's Mr. A that can deliver, then vote for Mr. A. All right. So we shouldn't be carried away with ethnicity, religion in making our choices. Like I said, you don't need a saint to govern well. That's the truth. We all have our proclivities. We only rely on God to help us, to be better human beings. But I can assure you, most of the countries that are developed today, are they religious? China is there. The Middle East, we all go to Dubai to enjoy ourselves. That's human capital development at play. Good governance, discipline. When you don't have all this, how do you expect to develop? So we have a lot to do, not just as leaders, but as followers. Nigerians we need to settle down and tell ourselves, okay, we have come this far in 62 years. How do we define the next 62 years of our lives? It's very important. And this election is a launch pad into that next level for us as a country.
Now we see that ease of doing business is not easy anymore. You have businesses have actually wind up, and then you still have the unemployment rate over 33%, and then you have this the precipitous decline of our national currency. The economy is actually bleeding. Now, with all of that, I hear you say that there's no one that can actually come and then turn things around in the next 8 years. But then we still have to vote for someone. So do you actually see any of these candidates that have been railed out, over 16 of them, do you actually see any of them being able to, at least to an extent, turn Nigeria to close to
Okay,
that giant of Africa.
You want me to endorse a candidate now?
I'm not.
Okay, now, this is what I would say. Now, if you look at this current administration under President Muhammadu Buhari, give it to them. They've tried in terms of infrastructure. I don't think the next government will come and worry about Lagos-Ibadan railway. The next government is not coming to worry about the second Niger bridge. Do you understand what I mean? That's what, if each administration is committed to living, making an impact within 8 years, it will keep reducing the workload for the next administration. Like I said, most of the infrastructure that has been invested in by this present government, you don't have to reinvent the same infrastructure in the coming regime. So I would say that for anybody that is going to win, we have three major leading candidates as we speak. For any of them that is going to win, they should ensure that they deliver on their promise. They should not slow down our infrastructural development. It's very important. I'm from Benue State, and I'll tell you, before the coming of Buhari, I know how long it used to take us to drive from here to Makurdi. But I can tell you for free, that road is almost 80% better than what it used to be. It's evident, we can see it. So at least that's a promise kept, isn't it? So if any of the candidates want to be our president, next year, then they should be ready to practice what they preach. They should be able to keep to their promises. They shouldn't promise what is impossible or what is not practical. So Nigerians, scrutinize the candidates, look at their antecedents. Don't let somebody come and tell you, I will do this. When you check the person's life history, he has not done any of the things he's saying he's coming to do, or there's no semblance of even having the capacity to do that. So Nigerians should decide.
Dr. Peter has actually given thumbs up, because the last ministerial retreat that was held by this administration, that's the last one, they said President Muhammadu Buhari actually stated that they have done well. So I hear you say they have done well.
In terms of infrastructure, yes, President Muhammadu Buhari has done well. Okay. I'll say it categorically. In terms of infrastructure, yes, he has done well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time with us. It's been a wonderful time having this discussion with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, viewers, that's where we end the show for today. We have been chatting with Dr. Peter Adejoh. He is the MD CEO of Camey and Rock Holdings, and it's been a wonderful time here on The Conversation. Keep watching The Conversation, because you never know who my next guest will be and what my next topic will be all about. Till I come your way again from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabelle Oji. God bless Nigeria.